This is Greg Troutwine with Offshore Engineer TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Samantha Spano, ABB Energy Industries, to discuss the benefits of predictive maintenance in the offshore sector. Samantha, to start, can you give us an overview of your area of responsibility within ABB Energies?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Greg. I'm responsible for overall portfolio management and representing and understanding our energy customers' needs as they pertain to our asset performance management portfolio at ABB.
We talk about digitalization all the time, to the point, to a degree, it has become somewhat of an empty buzzword. From the ABB perspective, can you help us define digitalization in the context of what it can do for an organization's predictive maintenance strategy?
You know, at the end of the day, we're all striving for solutions that simply connect, that simply tell us, that simply know, and they simply adapt as our businesses change. And we want all of those things to just happen, you know, in the most efficient way possible without a lot of manual labor or intensity or complexity. And ultimately, we want all of that because we just want our operations to simply run better. And we're constantly striving to run better. And that's where digital comes in. It can help us achieve that. And what do I mean by simply run better? You know, what if an asset automatically announced when it's going to fail? Or, for example, an operator receives a notification that shares the service status on a piece of equipment. Most of all, though, we really want to simply run better by having things automatically happen for us with human oversight. So we want digital that empowers people. And for example, your system could notify your operator that a pump in Unit 6 is 93% likely to fail in the next 17 days. And then the software asks your operator if she'd like to order replacement parts. So it's putting the decision-making and judgment back on the human, but with a lot of simplified operations there. You know, would you like to order replacement parts? Yes or no? And that's really what it means when we talk about simply run better with digital and digital that empowers people. And more specifically, you know, what does that mean with predictive maintenance? Some of the key challenges that a lot of maintenance and operations teams are facing as they're looking to digitalize their maintenance strategy is trying to understand just where do I start? How can I transform? How do I work better and figure out what data do I need? How often should I look at the data? How often will that change the workflow of our team? One of our ABB customers in the hydropower industry with a large fleet of capital assets, they were just simply trying to replace their calendar-based preventive maintenance schedule with a much more cost-effective method. And now leveraging our APM solution, they're looking at data continually, and they're trying to make better decisions and more cost-effective choices with their maintenance program across the whole fleet. So that's just one example of how digital can enable a predictive maintenance strategy.
So as you know, we're about to publish an article on Offshore Engineer, the 6 steps to predictive maintenance. I don't want to steal the editorial thunder here, but step 1 advises gain visibility of your data. Can you discuss what specifically that means from your perspective and also point to a recent case study that helps illustrate the point?
Yeah, well, the first step in any journey is to know where you're starting from. And within our industry, it's understanding what data you have, you know, across your processes and equipment and your business systems. The old phrase that you can't measure what you don't know, this has never been more fitting. And we've been able to help several companies with this first step of just getting a visual on your data, perhaps revealing data that you didn't even know you had access to. And one example of this is some of our work with an offshore oil and gas producer, Okea, with their Drogon platform. And we've been live streaming data safely out of their control system, but also with devices, directly from the devices across their entire site to a cloud-based dashboard that anyone in the organization can see. And so we've been able to provide a window into their operations that was previously invisible. And we've been able to give them context to this data and help them find correlations and find opportunities to make changes in their operations and then ultimately help them optimize production and safety and maintenance.
Another step of the 6 was understand the gaps and remediate with added sensing. We understand that you had a recent interesting example of this with Goliath to share.
Yeah, exactly. So now that you have access to the data, you're seeing things on screen, you may realize, or with the help of ABB or another service provider, you could use some additional data points to help paint a clearer picture. And so at ABB and many other providers, we can offer sensors for both wired and wireless use cases that can be deployed across, electrical equipment, rotating equipment, other types of plant assets as part of a broader condition monitoring solution. So with added sensing, you can measure critical equipment parameters from the surface of equipment, and that can provide meaningful information on the condition or the performance of a machine. And it can allow the end user who's looking at a dashboard in another location to help identify inefficiencies and ultimately reduce the risks related to that asset. And as you said, we've been working on a large project in the Goliath field up in the Norwegian sector of the Barents Sea. And we're leveraging some of our advanced wireless sensors to access data from rotating machinery remotely. And so with this new data, along with access to electrical systems and HVAC systems, their operators are now notified of areas of recommended maintenance, and it really limits their time and exposure to unsafe conditions out there on the unit.
Can you give us a quick recap of the 6 steps to predictive maintenance, which our audience obviously can read about in full in the November-December edition of Offshore Engineer?
Yeah, definitely. So our 6 steps to predictive maintenance it's a simplified approach to help you get started on a digital maintenance journey. It really breaks it down into a modular approach so that this bigger challenge and goal is just ultimately not so daunting. So as we covered, step 1, gain visibility of your data. Step 2, understand where your gaps are and fill that with added sensing. Step 3, you can begin to perform the analysis and understanding of trends and begin actually predicting faults and performance based on your historical data. Step 4 is using those trends and forecasts, you can begin to then optimize your strategy, your maintenance strategy. Step 5 is more like planning, beginning to take action and adjust your operations and your CapEx and operational expenditures, and you can plan for the future. And then step 6 is more of a holistic view and being able to embrace reliability as a culture, and where everyone at all levels is continuously involved in understanding and optimizing throughout an asset's entire life cycle. So it's a good read. I hope it helps establish a framework to help think about in your maintenance planning.